Well, ahead of the G20 meet comes news of the likely inclusion of the African Union into the group of 20 nations, so it would become the G21 eventually. India has been a strong endorser of the role of African nations in the G20 process. Joining us now, a very special guest, Anisa Kapufi Ambege, as the Tanzanian envoy to India. Thank you, ma'am, very much for being with us. You must be welcoming this step. It's been encouraged by India to extend G20 into G21 with the possible inclusion of the African Union.
Thank you so much. My name is Anisa Ambege. I'm the Tanzanian High Commissioner in India. Yes, we commend the effort of the government of India, and especially under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji, for thinking of including the African Union into the G20 group of nations to become the group of 21. This is very commendable. We all know that African continent is a huge continent with potential opportunities in terms of trade, in terms of investment. It has quite potential, a lot of natural resources endowed with it. It has a huge population of people, around approximately 1 billion people. But also it is peaceful. It is having a lot of potential in terms of trade. And especially after signing the African Continental Free Trade Area, it provides access to more than 450 billion worth. So we can see this is a potential market, and for the government of India under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji,
right.
We know that the vision of the G20 is under the spirit of the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one nation, one family, one future. India has been a very good friend of the African continent ever since. And we have witnessed that ever since you would remember quite well, during the COVID-19 pandemic. India was there to support so many African countries to face the challenge of COVID-19 in terms of supplying vaccinations, yes, and medical facilities and others. So inclusion of African Union in the G20 means that promotion of trade, promotion of investment, but also expanding the trade area in terms of other countries of the G20, sure, trading with Africa.
So, High Commissioner, let me ask you this question, ma'am. It's also about financial inclusion. It is also about ensuring that the disparity in wealth which exists among nations of the G20 and outside is reduced substantially. What are some of the key steps which you believe that the G20 needs to make to ensure that there is greater financial inclusion for nations in Africa?
Most of the African countries are facing with this challenge of climate change. And we know that the developing countries lack technology, lack financial capacity in terms of combating the effects of climate change. The developed nations should look into this matter, because most of these countries are the ones which are producing this kind of emissions which affect our climate change. So we think that it is high time now African countries should be assisted in terms of technological advancement to combat the effects of climate change, so that we can prevent adverse effects on our continent as well. But also promote sustainable development of our people. We need to protect our environment and approach to the green economy and move towards that angle.
Sure. Ma'am, one of the big goals of India in our own country, and I think it's a goal of the G20, is to encourage the inclusion of women at multiple levels, whether it's at the political level, whether it is having women in the formal workplace as well. So in terms of the notion of shared prosperity, how important is the greater involvement of women?
It is very important gender balance in terms of decision-making positions, in terms of the parliament. We see that happening in India as well, in Tanzania, in my country. We are blessed to have a woman president in my country as well as in India. You can see that coincidence. And women have a great capacity. They are blessed naturally to lead. So it is high time, I think, now we should also focus on gender balance in terms of putting women in decision-making positions and also leading in top positions. And this is happening as we are witnessing in India. We have so many women in the parliament, but also in Tanzania as well. So I think this is also one of the agenda which needs to be taken seriously. And with that, I think the world will be able to move in a better place.
Ma'am, one final question. India has developed a digital backbone. The process of digitalization is something that's gone quite far. For example, I use an app called DigiLocker, where my driving license, the registration certificate of my card, my COVID registration, it's all there on a digital format. When I go to the airport, there is another app that allows me to enter quite fast. Do you believe that the digital backbone which we've developed in India is something which can be shared with other countries, including yours?
Definitely, definitely. We are moving to the era of, we are moving to the phase of digital transformation, and this is very important for our economy. Everything is nowadays done digitally, and African nations also needs to be included in that aspect, and we are moving towards the fourth industrial revolution. So I think it's high time now other countries should also share the technological transformation to African countries so that we can move at par in terms of digital transformation and technological advancement. And this will help in sustaining our trade, but promoting our trade, but also achieve the targets set forth by our respective countries.
High Commissioner Rambega, thank you very much, ma'am, for being with us. And let's look forward to a wonderful G20. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.